Story 57, My Girlfriend's Cabo Disaster. I, 28 male, met my girlfriend Claire, 30 female, in college about 5 years ago. We were both seeing other people at the time, but life took over, and eventually, we ended up together. We've been living together for a few years now. I thought we were happy, but I'm apparently clueless. I knew something was wrong the second she brought up Cabo. We were sitting on the couch like any other night, me mindlessly flipping through YouTube while she scrolled Instagram, pretending to be the perfect girlfriend. Then she dropped her little bomb, I think I'm going to Cabo next month with some friends. This comment broke my brain. 3 years together, and suddenly, she's planning a vacation without me? How she said it, casually, like she was mentioning picking up milk from the store, made my stomach turn. She didn't even look at me, just giving me this dismissive glance like I was some annoying roommate she had to inform of her plans. Just a short trip, she said, still scrolling through her phone. It'll be nice to get away for a bit. How she emphasized the word I, felt like a slap in the face. 3 effing years together, and I wasn't even worth considering for her paradise getaway. When I asked who was going, she fed me the first of what would turn out to be many lies. Oh, just Michelle and me and maybe some people from work. This was really vague and really convenient. I knew most of her coworkers or thought I did. Looking back at it, I realized that the way she avoided eye contact told me everything I needed to know. Something was very, very wrong. I asked her directly if I was invited. I got to see her tense up like she'd been caught stealing. Her response was pure bullshit. I'm sorry, but we just wanted to get some girl time in. Michelle and Mark have had some problems recently, and she needs to get away. Right. Girl time. The oldest excuse in the cheater's handbook. This was the pos that I had actually thought about proposing to. She'd all but clubbed me with her hints about being engaged. Over the next few days, I stupidly tried to convince myself I was being paranoid. Maybe I was overreacting, but that sick feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. 3 years of trust, and suddenly, she's planning secret vacations? It didn't take a genius to see something wasn't adding up. I waited until she was in the shower one night. As long as the water was running, I knew I had at least 20 minutes. Once she got out of the shower, she took a long time to dry her hair. So, as soon as she got into the shower, I grabbed her phone. I'd never checked it before because I never felt the need to. I knew her password. In the past, she'd asked me to check messages for her while she was busy. It was strange because my hands shook as I picked up the phone that night. I scrolled through her messages. And there it was, like a knife to the heart, conversations with someone named Eric. I have no idea where she knew this guy from, and I'd never heard of an Eric before. The messages made me physically sick. They weren't just planning a vacation, they were planning their little romantic getaway. Flirty messages, inside jokes, references to intimate times they'd shared that I knew nothing about. She'd been deleting their earlier conversations, but what remained was enough. My girlfriend, the woman who slept beside me every night, who told me she loved me every morning, was planning to screw some guy from work in Cabo. Yeah, it got worse. This wasn't just some girl's trip gone wrong. Michelle wasn't going with her husband Mark, she was bringing her boyfriend. They'd planned a couple's retreat for cheaters, a weekend of betrayal in paradise while their partners sat at home like idiots. I got what I needed and put her phone back before she finished her shower. That night, laying beside her in bed, watching her sleep like she hadn't destroyed everything we had. My mind was just circling back to how many nights she had done this. There was one entry that I absolutely recognized. Every year, Claire would set up a time for us to celebrate our anniversary, which meant the day we had our first date. We should have celebrated our 3rd year a couple of weeks ago, but she canceled on me because she had to work late. Her text showed she wasn't working late, she had gone out with him on our anniversary. It made me wonder how often she had gone to bed beside me while texting him. Kissed me goodnight while planning their next hookup? Every single memory felt tainted by her betrayal. That's when I knew I wasn't going to be the pathetic boyfriend waiting at home while she lived out her fantasy in Cabo. She wanted to play games? Fine. I'd show her exactly what happens to cheaters who think they're too clever to get caught. I spent the next week meticulously planning everything. While she went about her daily routine, thinking she had me fooled, I was documenting everything. Screenshots of her messages with Eric, photos she thought were hidden deep in her phone, every piece of evidence I could find. I started packing. I don't know why, but I actually found it hurtful that she didn't even notice I had started packing my stuff. Sure, I didn't do it in front of her, but come on, I emptied my dresser into boxes and was stacking them in the spare bedroom. I took everything I owned that wasn't almost nailed down and had it packed by the time she went on this trip, and she never noticed. She was so caught up in her little world that she wasn't paying any attention to what was going on around her. The morning she left, she tried to kiss me goodbye at the door like nothing was wrong. I avoided the lean-in without saying a word, finally getting her attention. She looked at me with a WTH look and then said, "I'll call you when we land," with that forced fake smile I'd grown to hate. I stood there staring at her, trying to play the role of the trusting boyfriend one last time. By the look on her face, I pretty much failed, I'm sure. "Have fun," I told her sarcastically, knowing it would be the last thing I ever said to her. I got another of those looks and a bit of hesitation before she turned and walked to her car. She didn't know that this morning, just after she zipped up her suitcase and put it next to the door, I had taken the time to add some notes to her clothes while she was getting ready. I placed strategic notes inside her folded-up clothing, telling her some of the more intimate facts about what I knew. The last thing I did was open a can of tuna fish and pour it over her cute little lingerie, swimsuit, and LBD. I then replaced the rest of her clothes over the mess and zipped it all back up. The moment she left, I started clearing out everything that remained in the apartment that was mine. I left the keys on the counter and prepared to blow up her entire world. By the time she landed in Cabo, ready to start her little fantasy weekend with Eric, she'd find out exactly what her betrayal had cost her. It was time to call Mark, Michelle's husband. Michelle was a cheater like my girlfriend, and he deserved to know the truth. I had all the evidence ready, the screenshots, the messages, everything that proved what they were doing in Cabo. Mark lost his mind when I gave him all the evidence and walked him through what I discovered over the last few weeks. I apologized for not telling him sooner, but I didn't want my plans trashed because he wanted to go off on his wife. The game was over. And she was about to find out exactly what happens when you betray someone who trusted you completely. The aftermath of her little Cabo romance had been exactly what a cheater deserved. While she was spreading her legs for Eric on the beach, I'd made sure everyone back home knew exactly what kind of person she really was. Every screenshot, every flirty message, every planned rendezvous, I sent it all to everyone who mattered. Our friends, our families, her coworkers. Let them see the real her, the lying snake who could kiss me goodbye while texting her lover about their upcoming getaway. Michelle's husband had done even better than me. He'd hired someone to follow his wife around when she got back until he had enough evidence himself to prove her infidelity in court for the divorce. This is an at-fault state, so good on him. The pie even caught Eric and Michelle together stumbling drunk into a shared hotel room one night. Real classy. Mark even made sure Eric's longtime girlfriend got a special delivery of those photos. As you can tell, it turned out Eric wasn't just cheating with my ex, he had a whole set of friends with benefits and a live-in girlfriend back home who had no idea he flew off to Cabo with his office sluts and had his little harem. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, so getting back to my little disaster. Claire went to the resort and unpacked her suitcase, finding my presence. I started getting spammed with calls, with her freaking out about the notes and one really funny one where she was crying about the tuna fish in her luggage. She apparently bailed early and came home on the first flight the next day. When she got to our apartment, she panicked after seeing I was gone. The texts came flooding in. "Where are you? What happened to all your stuff? Why isn't anyone talking to me? Please, you don't understand." Then, "You had no right." Followed up with pleading with me to talk to her. I had every right. 3 years of my life wasted on a cheater who could lie to my face every single day. Every "I love you" was a lie. Every kiss was a lie. Every time she said she was working late or having girls' night, sent me down the rabbit hole of wondering who she had been effing. How many others had there been before Eric? How often was I the idiot waiting at home while she played around? Eric ghosted her the moment his girlfriend threatened to leave. Yeah, I can't even fathom that she stayed. He chose his comfortable life over my ex's fantasy future. Last I heard, he'd transferred offices and was working on his relationship. Yeah, right. Claire tried everything to get me back. She showed up at my work crying, tried to corner me at the gym, and stalked my favorite places. I would just walk past her like she was invisible. Because that's all she was to me now, nothing. The woman I thought I loved had never existed. She was just a lie wrapped in fake smiles and empty promises. The hardest part wasn't losing her, it was realizing every memory was poisoned. Every happy moment, every special occasion, every quiet night at home. How many of those times had she been texting other guys? How many date nights had she spent thinking about her next hookup? The betrayal infected everything and turned 3 years of my life into one massive crappy lie. After nearly 7 months of stumbling through life on autopilot, running into Maddie at the brewery was like finally coming up for air after drowning in my ex's bullshit. We dated in college before my ex sank her claws into me. Maddie and I broke up because she got her master's and moved for work. Maddie was real. Honest. No games, no lies, no sneaking around with coworkers. When she said she was working late, she's actually working. When she says she loves me, she means it. Watching my ex's face crumple as she recognized Maddie, I felt nothing but disgust. She was seeing what she'd thrown away, me, happy, with a woman who actually understood loyalty. A woman who didn't need to chase cheap thrills with office flings. I could see the pain in my ex's eyes as she watched us together. Let her see exactly what she lost. Her social media is full of fake quotes about regret and second chances. Her cheating friends leave heart emojis and empty support, but we all know the truth, she's alone. No Eric, no real friends, just the consequences of being exposed as a cheater. She posts old pictures of us sometimes, trying to rewrite history. But everyone knows what she did. Everyone knows who she really is. Maddie moved in with me 3 months ago. It's real, honest, pure, everything my ex couldn't be if she tried. Sometimes, I look at Maddie sleeping beside me and think about how I almost stayed trapped with a cheater. How I almost believed my ex's lies. How I almost settled for less than I deserved. My ex still lives in town, still plays the victim, and still can't understand why her life fell apart. She tells anyone who'll listen that I overreacted, that it wasn't what it looked like, and that she deserves another chance. We both know the truth. She's a cheater, a liar, and a betrayer. And now everyone else knows it too. I don't hate her anymore. Hate requires caring, and I stopped caring the moment I saw those messages with Eric. What I feel now is satisfaction. The satisfaction that she lost everything, the satisfaction that her lies caught up with her, the satisfaction that karma finally came calling. So let her stand there on the sidewalk, crying her fake tears. Let her post her sad quotes. Now she gets to live with the consequences of her choices. I've got something real now, something she'll never have because she doesn't know the meaning of love or loyalty. The woman crying on the sidewalk, looking at me can keep her regrets and her lies. I've got my life back, and this time, I'm living it with someone who deserves my trust.
I only post new and unique content. Please like and subscribe.